Hello, welcome everyone to our pop culture live stream. Tonight we will be discussing Kendrick Lamar's surprise album GNX, and then we're going to talk about the reason why I think hip hop isn't as popular as it was before, and that there is a decline in music sales and hip hop sales comparison to years prior. So on Friday, November 22nd, Kendrick Lamar dropped a album that was a complete and total surprise to everyone. A 13 track banger, to be honest, named GNX. And I got to tell you, it's been a while since I was really infatuated with a rap album as much as I like this one. If you guys listened to my review of the previous Kendrick Lamar album, which was Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, I hated that album. I thought it was okay, but I wasn't a big fan of it. It was a little too introspective. But this album, the introspection and the basic good advice that he puts out is still there. So it's not like he's regressing in any way. So the woke shit is still there. The introspection is still there. But the crisp production, classic West Coast production, the energy on every record, I got to tell you, there is nothing on this album that I think is whack. This for the first time in a long time, I can say I don't think anything on this joint is whack. Now I've listened to very few new albums, so it's already in the top three of new albums I've heard this year. But then again, the only album I would say was better than this would be Anderson Paak and Knowledge, their album, which I love Anderson Paak, so I would say that was better this year. But at least I think it was this year, maybe it was last year that that album came out. It doesn't matter. But I think this is one of the crown jewels of Kendrick Lamar's discography, up there with To Pimp a Butterfly and Good Kid, Mad City. So I got to tell you, I listened to this album going for a walk. It was excellent from top to bottom. I thought it was fantastic. Now I have not listened to Tyler the Creator because I'm not really a fan, so I can't fairly grade Tyler the Creator because I never really listened to him. I've only heard songs here and there, so it wouldn't be fair for me to be like, oh, I heard it and this, that, and the third, because I probably wouldn't like it anyway. And I heard the single, and I didn't like that, so I was like, never be gonna pass on that. There would have been a time though, maybe about 20 some odd years ago, where I would have listened to it just to hear it, and that's how I used to be back when I was really in deep when it comes to rap. I used to listen to albums just so I could say that I heard it. But that ain't happening today. That ain't happening today. Usually, when I listen to something, I got to be in motion, or I'm reading. But I absolutely love the Kendrick Lamar album. We're gonna go song by song for the most part, and then we're gonna get into the rap stuff. And if it's not 7 o'clock or an hour or so, we may get into Dragon Ball. But I kind of want to save that for next week when the fight actually happens. AJ3 says, would you compare this GNX album to Jay Z's 444 album? No, I wouldn't. Uh, I think Jay Z's 444, I haven't heard it in a long time, to be quite honest. So it's hard for me to get a sense of what kind of approach he was having on that joint because I haven't heard it probably since it came out. So it's hard for me to compare it. I would say it reminded me, if anything, of classic West Coast rap, you know, and it's clearly Bay Area coded, which is not always to say, Compton is not always, you know, there, but it's very Bay Area coded. A lot of DJ Mustard sounds like some stuff. I can't tell you like who's the producers on each record because I didn't look. So But I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a lot of classic West Coast sounds that was put together. Whole lot of bass on this joint. It was very good, and it even uh, worked in headphones because his lyrical ability. There was still some weird stuff that was going on, like there's Kendrick Lamar affectations that I don't really care for. The voices sometimes, the weird noises. I mean, those are just things that he does. You have to be when you sign up to listen to Kendrick Lamar. That's kind of the thing that just kind of come with it. Some of the weird stuff that he does. So I uh, I think that it was. I think Dream Ultra Crazy said it was a light 8. I think it's a solid 8. I think it's a solid 8. Again, there's nothing on here that's whack. So I don't. The only problem I would have with it would be actually I was gonna say the length, but it's a 45-minute album. That's fine for a music album. You don't need an hour. 45 minutes is solid. It's it got replayability to it. Some of the songs that people really like, I'm not a big fan of, like TV Off. I'm not really a huge fan of that. We'll talk about it when I get there. But um I like the album. I thought it was pretty good. Prince Noctis says Jack Ontoff, who was Taylor Swift's producer, had a hand in a few of these tracks. Ah, okay. So Drake's comment about, the Swifties kind of continues to bear some fruit. But hey, as long as it works, I don't really care who is involved with the production. As long as it sonically sounds good. And plus white people I'm assuming this guy's white, um, have been involved in the production area of hip hop forever. Scott Storch was recently on Joe Rogan. I didn't listen to the entire episode. Alchemist. Uh, just a bunch of white guys have been involved with this stuff. It's all about finding the right sound for the artist. And this album felt like Kendrick Lamar was motivated and energized by the big show he had in Compton a couple of months ago, um, in which he did not like us for like an hour. It felt like that motivated him. Like he found that was the next zone that he wanted to go into, was to really represent where he comes from. And that's what I felt here, is that he really wanted to represent where he came from. All right, so song one was Whacked Out Murals. Um, kind of, he was addressing some things here. You know, um, a lot of it was about the hate that he gets and how he's used to it. Some of the stuff that surprised him, that offended him, upset him. That they put a Compton mural up for him, and somebody spray painted all over it, and that upset him, hurt his feelings. I think it's still spray painted over, as far as I know. But you know, um, of course, the Super Bowl issue, the Lil Wayne reference, the addressing the Snoop Dogg who supported the Taylor made this. Snoop Dogg actually came out and had words about that, and so did Lil Wayne. He had to come out and say stuff too. But Whacked Out Murals was a great starter track. It reminded me a lot of something Lupe Fiasco would have done. Very um, loose in terms of concept, that anything could be in it, but it did have an overall theme, which kind of something that Lupe Fiasco doesn't always do, which is keep things tight. Quite often he veers off into a stream of consciousness, Ghostface Killer kind of stuff. But this felt tighter. Like he wanted to address how he felt about people hating on him, and felt that it's undeserved. So he mentioned the Super Bowl, that he got offered the Super Bowl spot, and his success has let Lil Wayne down, or something to that effect that he said. And people were like, "Oh, that's not a diss. He didn't diss Lil Wayne." Well, a couple bars later, he's talking about old flows and old niggas and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, maybe you don't put that stuff so close together, you know? Um, but Lil Wayne, I wanted to respond to this. I want to try to find Lil Wayne's response before, you know, 'cause I want to read his response verbatim uh, about what he said. So, but let's talk about that before we get into Lil Wayne's response. So Kendrick Lamar was offered the Super Bowl spot by, I think Jay-Z is the one who's coming up with who's going to do the Super Bowl. It led everybody to believe that Lil Wayne was going to get it because the Super Bowl is going to be in New Orleans. And then it was taken away, quote unquote, and given to Kendrick Lamar. And that narrative floated out around there for a while. And I guess that's the version of events Lil Wayne heard. And that's the version of events that he responded to about how he hurt his feelings and how upset he was about that. And then it came out that he was never offered the spot in the first place. And it was interesting that Lil Wayne was still upset that Kendrick Lamar would get that spot in his state. So Lil Wayne made some comments about it, about how much it hurt his feelings, but I don't think nothing he said was meaning to offend or go after Kendrick Lamar as much as he was upset about the decision for it to not be him. You know, considering all the hits that he's had, and to be honest, if you're going to have a Super Bowl halftime show, when you look at all the people who've done Super Bowl halftime shows for the most part, most of them have had longer careers than Kendrick Lamar has had. Now, Kendrick Lamar has been around for a long time, you know, don't get me wrong. But when you got people like Eminem, Dr. Dre, and Snoop Dogg, you know, I think The Weeknd might be one of the guys that you're kind of like, well, he's an aberration. But you know, Prince and Janet Jackson, Lil Wayne, okay, these guys been around since 1998. He's got all kinds of stuff that he could do in front of a Super Bowl crowd that people would know. You would think he would be in the conversation. So I see where the people who are saying, okay, it should be Lil Wayne, I see how you could feel that way. But Lil Wayne also can't remember his own lyrics. You know, as a live performer, Lil Wayne is, Prince Noctis is talking about this right here. Lil Wayne is not a good live performer. Not anymore. He's not. His brain is completely rattled with drugs. His memory is shot. It would be a 100% lip sync affair. Now, it would be it's probably gonna be lip syncing anyway. I mean, that's it's the Super Bowl, and you have to do all of this medley of tracks in 30 minutes or something like that. So, but Lil Wayne is not a really good performer. But ultimately, it wasn't Kendrick Lamar's decision. It wasn't Lil Wayne's decision. It was, I believe, the NFL and their partnership with Rock Nation or whoever they're partnering with who made that decision. So Lil Wayne should have been mad at them if he was going to be mad. And I don't even know that he is mad. I just think that he had feelings about it. And a bunch of people, most of whom are Kendrick Lamar ball jugglers, are like, well, so what if the Super Bowl is in Louisiana? It doesn't have to be, or New Orleans. It doesn't have to be Lil Wayne. And you're right, it doesn't have to be. But if you're going to have a rapper do the Super Bowl in New Orleans, why wouldn't it be New Orleans rappers? Like, what would be the reason you wouldn't have it be Lil Wayne? And you could, you know, of course, bring in the Hot Boys. And then if they wanted to be generous, they could share the stage with Master P and No Limit. Like, it could have been a big deal, you know, culturally for New Orleans. You know, and I can respect that. At the same time, though, Like everyone, I recognize that Lil Wayne is not very good anymore. He's laundry in terms of being a rapper and in terms of being a performer. So I get it. But Kendrick Lamar decided to address that um, in Whacked Out Murals. And so Lil Wayne responded saying, man, what the fuck I do? I just be chilling and they come for my head. Let's not take kindness for weakness. Let this giant sleep. I beg you all. No one really wants destruction, not even me. But I shall destroy if disturbed. On me, love. And Lil Wayne is older than me, last I checked. I think he's like 43 or 44 or something like that. He's not that much older than Kendrick Lamar. He's probably got like 6 years on him, maybe. So it's not, and they're not quite peers, especially since Lil Wayne has been rapping since '98. But the idea that Lil Wayne would diss Kendrick Lamar over this, I think because it was a direct line, he didn't mean it with disrespect. If he was, I would think that if he was going to diss Lil Wayne, he'd have did it subliminally. Saying his name got a lot of people's attention, but I don't think he meant any disrespect by it. But anybody who thinks that Lil Wayne could take Kendrick Lamar in a rap battle is you're out of your mind. I'm not believing that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not buying it. Lil Wayne, I don't know when the last time Lil Wayne had a verse that's worth a fuck. You know, and we're going on years now. Years. And he still makes songs. He still does a bunch of features. It's just none of this stuff sticks like it used to. He just doesn't have it anymore. So we'll see if something comes out of this. I don't think so. I think Kendrick said what he needed to say on the subject, and now the ball is in Lil Wayne's court. If he decides to want to say something, I would not, gas him up to say anything. I wouldn't do that. And a lot of people are kind of like, Lil Wayne, you a legend. I don't want to see this. Don't do this. Don't act like this. It's like he's specifically saying, leave me alone in this situation. Let me do me. But Kendrick wanted to address that subject, which I feel like he had a right to address. Why shouldn't he address the subject of people hating that he got nominated to do the Super Bowl? He should be. It fits the theme of the song that he's talking about. He's talking about people spray painting over his mural, people hating on him. This fits, because Lil Wayne was disappointed and upset that it was Kendrick Lamar and not him. So I think it's fair. So Snoop Dogg, of course, because Snoop is the OG, he took that one on the chin. Hope it was the edibles. He said it was the edibles. So Snoop he's a peacemaker. He ain't. And plus, Kendrick Lamar loves Snoop, but he was disappointed in Snoop too. And Kendrick Lamar has reached the point where people have given him deference, which I actually think is pretty impressive. Because remember, there was a time when Nas thought he had that kind of authority, and he was giving good advice, let's say, to people like Cameron and Nori, and they were threatening to kill him every week. So it's a little different how people, act these days. These days, you get away with that kind of stuff. Back then, or 20 years ago, you just had a dude's name on a record, even if to the point where, you were disappointed in him or upset with him, he'd probably come out and just dish you and call you all kind of names and shit. All right. So I gave Whacked Out Murals a 4 out of 5. It might be a 4.5, but a 4 out of 5 I think is solid. Squabble Up, the next record. I wasn't a fan of the call and response element of it. I don't think it was catchy. I did like the sample though. I thought the sample was great. It's a good record. I don't know if it's a great one though. This feels like it might be the single or one of the singles. Clearly, this was I think one of the songs that played in the Not Like Us music video. So we heard a snippet of this song before. Um, it's a good record, but I don't. It's okay. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Next is Luther. I believe that's SZA who is featured on this track. It was a duet, quote unquote. Of course, it samples Luther Vandross, but the Luther Vandross song is actually Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell. So I noticed it immediately, and that allows for me to really sort of enjoy it. I thought that it was a good track. I'm not really a big Luther Vandross guy myself. My mom is though. I'm just not really big Luther myself. But I liked it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. But and I see why you would sample this version and not the Tammy Terrell and Marvin Gaye version. So, but it was fine as far as I'm concerned. And I think SZA has a great voice. I don't listen to her entire albums, but I think that she has a great voice. She's a great artist. So songs I hear here and there from her, I like, but I don't I see myself sitting down listening to an entire album. And recently I saw her on Twitter. I think she did some stream with some streaming guy, and I was like, she's got an absurd amount of surgery done because nothing. The weight that she carries on the bottom half of her body looks completely unnatural. It doesn't fit the rest of her body, and I think she might even got her lip fillers too. But she's got a good voice, you know. So I like this track. It's very smooth. I liked it. Press Noctis says this is probably the best R&B type song Kendrick has made. Yes, I think it might be in the top of his discography. So I think this was pretty good. Number 4, Man in the Garden, which is one of my favorite tracks on the album. Obviously inspired by Nas's One Mic, had the same flow, same cadence, similar sample. You know, absolutely fire track. And it's all about him saying how humble he is, but he works hard for everything, and he feels like he deserves all of his success. So it kind of fits into the theme of whacked out murals, where he talks about how unnecessary all the hate is and how he's used to it and all this stuff. But he's saying, man, at the Garden here, that he deserves it. He deserves to do the Super Bowl because he gets up, he busts his ass, he works hard, he minds his business. You know, he puts out stuff people want to hear. I thought it was great, and also I love the Nas inspiration. One Mic is, of course, a classic record. I feel really old when I listen to this though, because now it makes me think of how old One Mic is. This song came out in like what 2002. You know, man, that song is old. And I remember when it first came out. My God, shit. Um, this song is old. Um, so I give Man at the Garden 5 out of 5. It was an excellent track. Track 5, Hey Now. I liked it. I think it slaps. There's not much to it in terms of lyrical content and concept. It's just kind of like a high energy record, and I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. But there's not much depth to it. But it reminds me a lot of like some really classic West Coast stuff. Like if you listen to like when I say classic, I don't mean 1996. I mean maybe 2008. Like when E40 had his renaissance. Um, and during the that era, and the Bay Area Renaissance, where there was guys like what the fuck was that guy's name? The mixtape guy. I don't remember what his name is. Mr. Fab and E40 and all them. This feels like it came from that school of production. And I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, Dodie Six was pretty good. Yes. I enjoyed his verse, especially for a guy I never heard of before. So I thought this was pretty good. Number 6 was Reincarnated, which of course samples Tupac. And he mimics Tupac's energy and flow from Made Niggas on this track. It's obviously excellent, but it's taken into a concept where he spends the first verse talking about, and I'm going to say obscure blues singer from the 1940s, because I could not figure out who the hell he was talking about in this record. Especially the second verse when he was talking about the woman. Because at first I thought, okay, Billie Holiday? No, because she didn't die of a heroin overdose. And then I thought Ella Fitzgerald? Like, no, she didn't die of a heroin overdose either. So Whitney Houston would have to be that would have to be the one, right? It would have to be Whitney. But I don't think she died of a heroin overdose either. She drowned. So trying to figure out who he was talking about is as fun as listening to the record. So that was, I think, really good. Prince Noctis says, I saw a lot of people my age were thinking he was rapping like Eminem. The third verse, when he was doing the two different voices, some people was like, oh, that's like, because, Kendrick Lamar is a big fan of Eminem. He's doing Eminem there. I was like, no, other people did that. DMX did that too. DMX was known for that. The two different voices from Stop Being Greedy, the Damien series, which includes The Omen, Ready to Meet Him, all these kind of stuff where he would do multiple different voices, basically himself talking to God. So I didn't get Eminem out of that at all. I wasn't even thinking about Eminem until I saw it online. I was like, why would people think he was doing an Eminem part? I didn't see that. So I didn't get it. So, but Reincarnated is a great record. We're going to go with, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. I wrote down 4 out of 5. I'm going to go 5 out of 5 with this. Christian Graydon says, what do you think about the Native American slur controversy with Kendrick? I don't think I'm familiar with that. What's Native American slur controversy? Because this doesn't sound like anything I'm going to be interested in. All right, track 7 was TV Off. This was one of those tracks where they switched the beat in the middle of the record, and that's when he screamed, Mustard! And everybody just thought that was the greatest meme of all time. I did not like this track as much as everybody else did. I think a lot of other people like this record and squabble up a lot more than I do. This one is one of the weaker tracks to me. I don't like beat switching in records usually, unless it comes with, at least it comes with a reason and with a tone. For instance, my favorite beat switch is when they switch to Biggie's verse and All About the Benjamins. I think that's an absolutely very well done version of a beat switch. I'm not really a huge fan of the beat switch gimmick. I'm just not. I talked about Lil Wayne and Kendrick Lamar already. You're gonna have to go backwards. So I give it a 3.5 out of 5. It's okay. It's not whack, but it's not my favorite thing. But I do like the idea of him wanting everybody to stop watching TV. That's I do like that. People watch too much TV. Him screaming mustard was hilarious. I'm glad that that the two of them have linked up and got Kendrick some high energy records. That was one of the things that I would say was, I won't say it was missing from his discography, but when you're an introspective artist like a Kendrick Lamar or a Nas, it's you don't get a lot of that high energy bounce kind of stuff. You get a lot of money trees kind of records from them. But R.I.P was already there. So but this is clearly for where he came from. This is the kind of stuff they like, TV off and Squabble Up and Dodger Blue. I like Dodger Blue. I thought it was a great record. Fun record, smooth record. I actually liked it more than TV Off. I liked it more than most records, if we're being honest. It's not one you hear a lot about. It features, I believe, some kind of Venezuelan singer I saw online that he saw at a Dodgers game, which that was okay. So I think that this was pretty good. I give it a 4.5. Peekaboo was another one. I also gave that one a 4.5. I think it's just a fun record. I think Peekaboo could probably be a pretty good single as well. So, Heart 6, I gave a 5 out of 5. This completely disregards Drake's version of Heart 6, which was smart on his behalf because he was doing it. Drake wants to inject himself into this, and he's not interested in that. But this was what Kendrick Lamar does best, and he talked about Black Hippie not making it, and basically took it upon himself that Black Hippie didn't work, and all the things that he did wrong in the launch of guys like J-Rock and Ab-Soul, etc. And he expressed his love of Ab-Soul, which everybody should. He is a rapper's rapper. He's a phenomenal artist. In terms of being an MC, Ab-Soul is great. He's been good for a really long time. I haven't actually heard anything from Ab-Soul in years. I probably would have to look up the last album I actually listened to, though, which I'm going to do now. I want to look up the last Ab-Soul album I listened to because I don't remember it off the top of my head. I think it might be Control System. I think Control System might have been the last one I listened to. 2012, yes. Yeah, because I listened to Long Term Mentality, I listened to Control System. Did I hear These Days? I may have heard this. Let's look at the track record. I'm not sure I heard this. I'm not sure I heard this one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Control System. I didn't know he had albums after that. He had an album 2 years ago. I didn't know about that. So Ab-Soul's a good artist, man. And Kendrick gave him a ton of credit on his pen game, which is very well deserved because he's a very talented young man. So GNX, I'll give a Heart 6 5 out of 5. GNX was a good song too. I don't remember a lot about it. I think I was revisiting all the other records more. So I probably would have to give that one a solid 3. I don't think it's whack. It's just I don't remember it. In comparison to all the other things that I've done, listen to, the last two, which would be GNX and Gloria. I think I probably slept on those a little more than the rest of the album, however. So I'm going to have to leave those kind of open. But for the most part, I think the album was excellent. And it had good energy throughout. It kept Kendrick Lamar's introspection, his fearlessness to a degree. But it also had, the woke shit, the women worshiping, which is a Kendrick Lamar staple. But he's positing positive values. Like stand with one woman. Like, can't be mad at a guy who is saying, build a better life for your children, stay with one chick, you know, live righteously. It's hard to argue when that's the kind of stuff that we always have needed people to promote in rap. Those people finally getting involved and having the talent to spread that message. You can't really go against it. Um, Press Noctis says he also made a project in 2025. Made a project 2025 reference and whacked out murals. Oh, I didn't. I don't think I don't think I heard it. It must have. I must have missed it. I must have missed it. I know he got mad about the white comedian who was making jokes about black women. You know, and I didn't even know what it was that got him so tight until people started posting the clip of it was like a joke where two black guys were talking about, you see a white man, he get a black girlfriend, all of a sudden he got a tight lineup and a low fade and all this kind of stuff. And then the guy started saying, yeah, because his hair is gonna start falling out because of that black woman. It was supposed to have been a joke, but I guess, Kendrick worships women, so he got this thing. It's very odd. Very, very odd. He says, 2025, they're moving on some scary shit. What- hmm, I don't know. I'm gonna listen to it again and try to find the whole thing in context. So, um, Christian Graydon says, "Did Kendrick break into the top 5 rappers of all time to you?" No. Mm-mm. I don't foresee that he would. He's outside the top. He's probably in the top 20, maybe, but I think he's certainly outside of the top 10. Um, I meant to listen to Ice Cube's album. I know he just had an album come out recently. I haven't listened to it yet. I did listen to LL Cool J's album that came out this year. I don't remember none of it, but I did listen to it. Uh, I listened to it. I liked it, but I just don't remember anything from it, and I didn't review it. I think I may have talked about it on Twitter. Let's see what I said about it on Twitter, because that's probably been when I actually heard it. So yeah, I did listen to albums this year, for God's sake. Because I listened to LL Cool J, I remember that, and I thought it was one of the better LL Cool J albums this year too. Especially one of his best efforts in years. But I don't remember a damn thing about it. Let me see what I tweeted out about LL Cool J. Um, did where is it? Why can't I never find what I'm looking for on this goddamn site? Let's see. I'm finding everything except for what I'm looking for. How old is this clip? I'll find it eventually. WG Phil says the Michael biopic will be delayed until October 25. When was it supposed to come out? I don't know when it was supposed to come out in order for it to get bumped back. Press Noctis says he hated GNX at first, but it grew on me. It's just that the beat is so weird. Yeah, like I think that's probably why I didn't I didn't you know I didn't rate it as much as I looked at all the other records. Again, I listened to the entire album more than once. That's how much I like the album. I listened to it more than once, which is usually uh, a sign that I really enjoyed it. Is if I can listen to it more than once. And because I did like the LL Cool J album, but I don't remember listening to it more than once. You know. Let's see. Press Nazi says I was not crazy about it at all. Absol is way too spiritual lyrical for me. when he says shit like "All eyes on me, call me 3 Pac," I just can't listen to. He- there's it might be a thing where he's one of those guys who you might like him better in features. You know, like there's the Black Hippie song. What was that? Rolling Stone, where I think Absol was really good in that. He's also done some features with like Schoolboy Q, and I thought he was really good in those. On his own stuff, however, he can be very Lupe Fiasco, and that means he kind of raps over your head on purpose. You know, Elzai, Lupe Fiasco, these guys who try to show you that they're really big brained, and quite often they miss the mark because they're trying to be so big brained. WG Phil says, "I'm not sure if you'd be on when I leave. Can you discuss Denzel acting out?" Um, I I am not sure. Like I looked up what people were talking about, what people were upset about, and what I got out of some of the stuff that he was talking about is he mentioned that he had an alcohol problem and that he stopped drinking at 60 years old and that he used to drink 2 bottles of wine a day. You know, I didn't look at that as being problematic or something that was in need of being addressed. It's just him talking about his personal issues as his career winds down. He's sort of getting reflective. He did mention that he kissed a guy in Gladiator, but it was, for starters, the director said it didn't happen, which is weird. But he also said that it wasn't like a full, homo thing, but it was sort of like a kiss of death, like in the mafia or something like that. That it was that kind of scene and it was cut out. Um, and that, which was really weird, is that the director said it didn't happen. But I don't know. Like, what else is there? If we being honest, I can't figure out. I know everybody got really upset about it. I know like Hotep Jesus and a bunch of other people was like, "Oh, Denzel's his masculinity." And I was like, I didn't see anything like that jumped out at me like this is deeply problematic, that he shouldn't be talking about stuff like this. But maybe I missed it. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. Maybe I missed it. Prince Noctis says the Ice Cube album is horrible. I, something makes me really want to hear it now because I I saw that it was coming out, and I was like, I didn't hear anything about it. At least when LL Cool J was coming out, people were talking about it, and then when it finally did come out, I was like, oh, you know, good shit. And people were still talking about it for a little bit, and then it vanished. It went dissolved in the water. But when it comes to Ice Cube, I just saw that he was talking about it, and then his son was talking about it, and nobody else. So I didn't. I figured it was out, but it just wasn't very good. Maybe I'll check it out. Ice Cube's been rapping since 1986, maybe even before that. So not everybody's got that kind of longevity. Because I know there's some people out there who still releasing music that have been rapping for a long time. AJ3 said, "Did you get a chance to hear about the Dame Dash and Rockefeller option?" Yeah, I heard that he had to sell his portion of Rockefeller Records, and I don't know if somebody bought it yet, but I've heard that there was people who was interested in buying it, and I think Drake, they said, was one of the people who was interested in buying it, and he offered them like somewhere between $6 and $3 million for $3 to $6 million, but Jay-Z blocked it or something. I remember we talked about the hilarity of Cameron and Mace buying it, but of course I don't think they bought it either. But it doesn't matter, because ultimately the important bit is reasonable doubt, which they're only going to have control of for a few years before it goes back to Jay-Z anyway. So it's weird. WG Phil says, at work, so what's your thoughts on Denzel crashing out about kissing a dude in Gladiator, him admitting to doing drugs and other stuff like Christian is risky in Hollywood, being a Christian is risky in Hollywood? Yeah, I looked at those things in context. I read an article about him talking about doing drugs and alcohol. I did just see it was alcohol. I didn't know about drugs. And the alcohol was just, I felt like I was drinking too much wine. So I stopped. But it didn't say he was like a strung out alcoholic. It was just him saying, I had this problem, or I felt like it was a problem. And then it's over 15 years ago. The guy's almost 80 now. And he's talking about that he stopped doing this 15 years ago. It wasn't like, he literally spiraled out of control and got a bunch of DUIs. He just kind of wanted to have more control over his own life and felt like that was something he needed to do. You can't even tell, honestly, that he had any kind of problem, because he always carried himself with a lot of dignity. And the whole thing about Gladiator, I think we've already talked about that, is how he put it into context, and then the director said that stuff didn't happen anyway, which is weird, because why would he even be talking about that? That was awkward. Very awkward. Very awkward. Najee Savage says that Gloria song was toxic as fuck. I don't remember much about that either. Christian Graydon said, can you do a list top 10 peaks in hip hop history? Peaks? What do you mean by peak? Like rappers who took it to the next level? Because that would be Tupac in 96, DMX 98. It would be like Jay-Z, I want to say 2000 or 2001, where Jay-Z kind of hit his peak. It would be Kendrick Lamar 2024. I think he's doing, and for a guy who's been in the business for so long, for him to be still doing business like this is very impressive, if we're being honest. I'm quite impressed with him. Press Noctis says, if you listen to that Cube album, that track talking about these rappers is easily some of the cringiest shit I've ever heard from Cube. I grew up a huge Cube fan too. It's so sad. Ooh-wee. I do kind of listen to it now. Maybe I'll listen to it at work tomorrow. I may listen to it at work now. I was planning to watch movies or listen to a documentary or something, but I kind of want to listen to Ice Cube now. Christian Graydon is talking about Lil Wayne and Kendrick Lamar. I did talk about that at the very beginning when I talked about Whacked Out Murals, which was the first record on the album. So we're going to talk about now. I like the album. I thought the album was very good. K-Dot is a very talented young man. I will definitely keep this one in rotation because there are some tracks on it that I really liked. So we're going to listen to Ebro. So last year, I think it was, Juicy J was talking about hip hop sales going down 40%. It's not quite that much. I looked it up. It's not quite that much. It's almost 30%, not quite 40. And it's actually improving this year. But we're going to listen to Ebro give a reason why he thinks hip hop is declining. And people are missing the elephant in the room. This This thing is about to get real misogynistic, so get ready.
Any decline that you see in hip hop is our fault. We let hip hop become this everybody gets in, everybody's got a chance, lowest common denominator, cheap throwaway. I recorded 50 songs last night. We didn't care for this thing. We didn't take care of the songwriting. We didn't take care of the music making. We didn't take care of the fan base. We didn't go out and put our best shows on the stage. We didn't get with the best songwriters to make the best songs. We just started making shit and throwing it out so we could grab a bunch of money. And when you do that and it just becomes a money grab, your shit becomes disposable. There's going to come a time where it's only going to be the individuals who are the greatest who get to shine.
Well, that's how it should be anyway, for the record. But I'm not in complete disagreement with Ebro. Not in complete disagreement. I do think that the internet era, and it started with the blogs, if we're being honest, because guys like J. Cole was able to go around the gatekeepers because he could produce his own records, which he did, which means he could produce his own mixtape, which he did. Then he could put out his own mixtapes on these blog sites back in the day when you had Hot New Hip Hop and Live Mixtapes and Two Dope Boys and Dat Piff, of course, is the king of it. You could put out your own shit and people could listen to it. And yes, sometimes people with real talent got drowned out because a bunch of dudes who didn't really care that much could do the exact same thing. But a lot of the people from that era who did have talent, they continued to flourish. The issue that Ebro is talking about is problematic. That anybody can get in. The internet era has allowed everybody to get in. Anybody can upload on YouTube. Anybody can get on SoundCloud. Anybody can push a link or push a video onto people and get out there. And it does repel a lot of people because now there isn't much in the way of people to say this is good, to vouch for it. But here's the real problem. The real problem is that the gatekeepers, they vouch for bullshit. Some of the biggest rappers right now are female. Almost all of them are female, if we're being honest, with the exception of Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Almost all of the biggest rappers right now is like Megan Thee Stallion, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, and other women whose talent is shaking their ass, not being able to rap. I am inundated all day, every day, with various female rappers, most of whom can barely pronounce words, let alone have any real talent outside of shaking their ass. Music videos should be more popular than ever, because who the hell are listening to these songs? But that's the honest truth, is that hip-hop used to be for men. Now it's for women and effeminate males. And this was my issue with Drake, kind of my issue with Kendrick Lamar. I wouldn't say Kendrick Lamar is effeminate, but I do say he's a woman worshiper, which is, beta to a degree. Like I remember there's a lot of individuals on like Twitter who goes through a lot of old records and they post old songs. And I remember Jeezy was posted, and it was oh shit, what was the song that they played? I hadn't heard that song in forever. Shit. I love it, and I love it. And I remember my response to this was Atlanta before it became all niggas in dresses and Future ripoffs. Like, this was Atlanta, DJ Toomp, and all of that stuff. That stuff, and I realize now that stuff's almost 20 years old, So now you're like, these random dudes from Atlanta now are wearing dresses and they got lipstick and they're, doing a bunch of weird stuff. That's what rap is now. The males are effeminate, and the women are basically strippers and porn stars with microphones. And are you surprised people don't want to hear that shit? And then this is being produced and pushed by the gatekeepers, the Joe Budden podcasts and the Ebros and the breakfast clubs. Nobody has the balls to say, why are we listening to this shit? Who the fuck really likes Cardi B? Really? Who the fuck is listening to Cardi B? You know, why is Megan Thee Stallion one of the biggest selling artists of today? Why? It should not be that way. Where the fuck are the men in this industry? And what are they doing? Because I don't hear too much of anything from these guys. And most of them are just basically hamstrung and taught to, to support women. Must support women. And now the industry is suffering. It's over. And the gatekeepers, they killed themselves because nobody trusts their ear anymore. And it was the same thing. I don't want to get into Rapgate. I don't want it to be Rapgate or no shit like that. It was the same thing with video games, same thing with comic books. The gatekeepers started to promote what they think you should like, not based off of what the trend of people in the street would like, but based off what you should like politically. You should want to support women, so you should want to support Glorilla. You should want to support Cardi B. You should want to see Megan Thee Stallion win because you should want to support women. You should want to see Nicki Minaj make it. You should not be upset if there is no real differentiation between rap and hip hop. That shouldn't bother you. And almost anybody who had any sort of spine has been pushed to the margins of the industry. Imagine if a rapper stood up today and was like, look, we're not listening to these hoes. When did we start listening to hoes and drug addicts? Like this is it was like a weird thing where the rappers went from being the drug dealers to the drug users. They went from being the pimps to the hoes. Everything inverted. And you're wondering why it's not as good as it used to be. Why it's not as quality as it used to be. You inverted everything. Your gatekeepers let you down. The radio stations, the podcasters, all the weirdos like Merce who have I don't know if he still hosts Hip Hop DX's YouTube channel. I know he did for a while. He had like a podcast or something on there. And I remember I completely unplugged hip hop when Merce was like, why is everybody so homophobic in rap? My favorite rapper sucks dick. I don't have a problem with that. I was like, yoink. I unplugged. I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm good. I don't need to listen to this shit. This was years ago. It was years ago. But when I sat here and listened to Merce try to justify listening to like gay rappers, I'm like, look, that's your personal taste. You should know why people don't want to listen to gay rappers. You already know why. When the baddies went from being reality TV stars to being rappers, and nobody can say, we're tired of hearing this horseshit that you guys are talking about. We're tired of all these hoes with their stripper shoes. And look, as much as we love ass and thighs and all this kind of stuff, there's only so much of that shit we can look at. And then you got this young lady, Ice Spice, who just basically is embarrassing herself. She can't even stay on beat. But she has zero talent. Zero. She don't have any stage presence. Her voice doesn't even go over the beat. She doesn't have any energy. She ain't got no flow. She ain't got nothing. But she light skinned and she thick. That's all that matters. And nobody came out and said, take that microphone from that girl. She could be a video girl. She cannot rap. And nobody did it. All the trusted voices of hip hop sat down and shut up. They didn't say a damn thing. And that's the problem. It's not that, oh, we just let anybody be a rapper now. Yeah, that's part of the problem. But the real problem is that the people who were the anointed gatekeepers, the trusted voices, were the people that was steering you towards the bullshit. It was Ebro. It was Breakfast Club. It was Joe Budden, who is Mr. Rappity Rap Guy, who tries to get people to listen to Megan Thee Stallion. No, no. I'm gonna pass on that, bro. Huge pass on that. Beep says, I mean, it's just mainstream music now. Makeup companies sell their shit to quote men. So now, yeah, the days of Tump, Jeezy, and T.I. is over. Yeah, it's done for. And there was no follow up. You know, like usually there's or at least there's if one city kind of falls off, another one picks it up. You know, like when New York started getting shaky, you know, LA took over. Then LA started getting a little shaky, New York took back over. And then they started getting shaky again, and you saw the rise of Atlanta, or generally the South, because it included David Banner and included New Orleans. But that didn't happen. After Atlanta fell, that was it. And to be quite honest, what happened is they colonized Atlanta. Because in like 04, you started getting like Houston. Houston got big. The chopped and screwed music. That's when you started seeing a lot of the drug addicts do the rap stuff. I'm sipping lean and driving slow. And codeine ain't shit but liquid heroin, right? So you got these dudes, most of whom are dying because they're sipping codeine. And that's when you started seeing the drug users. Not, oh, I'm smoking weed. And yes, we know Scarface that snorted cocaine, and we know that BG and Juvenile and all those guys that did cocaine. We know that DMX had smoked crack, but it was not popular. All right. The lean shit became popular. It became a cultural element that came from Houston. I know they had it in Philly too, because I know that became a Beanie Siegel thing that they was sipping it up there too. But it became popular through the Screwed Up Click, and the shit out of Houston. All that stuff. And all those rappers who died from Houston because they was doing drugs. That became popular. Then you had the later years, Atlanta took back over. And then Atlanta became like the black gay capital of Earth. And so now you got dudes in dresses. Now you got dudes in lipstick. Now you got dudes doing devil worshiper shit. Why would anybody want to listen to this? This is not what, when people look at hip hop and rap music and what they stereotype it, Young Thug would not be that. You know, I know that he might be a real gangbanger or whatever, but he wore like a dress on his album cover. He's like one of the first people to do that. And I was like, oh, hell no. And they didn't run him out of rap for doing it. Some people actually listen to that shit. I was like, look, I'm a pass. And it only got worse from there. You know, so Future, of course, popularized taking pills, you know, which I'm pretty sure was from looking at Future, he was probably exaggerating how much of that stuff he actually does, which is typical of artists. They always exaggerate unless they actually croak over and die, which some of them actually do. But once they took ATL and flipped it to like the saucy Santana capital of planet Earth, it was over with. Rap died. It was dead. It was nothing but sissies and weirdos at that point. And then the girls took over because at least they're making something that they can play in strip clubs. And sometimes they'll have a hard beat here and there. They may even have a good track here and there. And I'm not even opposed to female rappers. Like Rhapsody is mentioned here. I love Rhapsody. I listened to her most recent album too. And I thought it was pretty good. But they're not pushing Rhapsody. Rhapsody is isn't she like a 40-year-old single mom? Like that was like, Jean Grey, 15, 20 years ago. She's an anomaly. Like female rappers who are like, MC Light, who actually took rap seriously, that was few and far between. The Remy Ma's, and Remy kind of, torched her own image. But Remy always was a person that people had respect for in terms of bars. Everybody respected Remy's rap style, her aggression, her lyricism, and everything. But we're not talking about Remy Ma's. We're not even talking about Eve's. We're talking about Trina's children. Well, I guess you could say Lil' Kim's children. Broads who don't even sound like they write their own verses. Because they don't even know how to be on beat. I mean, I will say Megan Thee Stallion at least knows how to be on beat. And some of these other women, they ain't got shit going. The Doja Cats. She's like pop star, rapper, R&B singer, but no talent at all. Like none. And then you just look at her and she's just doing freak shit all day. And you're like, I don't get it. I like Doja Cat as a personality. I think that she would be a cool person to hang out with because she doesn't take herself too seriously. But as an artist, she's a joke. And most of them are a joke. Beep says yesterday's rappers are probably today's tradesmen. No more pimps, players, and hustlers. Get that general contracting money. Yeah, and part of it is we started to complain a lot about the image of rappers and the image of hip hop, about the drug dealers and the gangbangers, and we started getting a little skittish when Chicago started killing all the young folks, which we should. We should get skittish because Chicago is killing all the young people. And that means that a lot of the masculinity, the toxic masculinity, is kind of pushed to the side. We keep trying to cancel guys. The Kodak Blacks, we want to cancel them. Because if you didn't support Megan Thee Stallion when she got shot, you should be canceled. That should never happen in hip hop. Hip hop is the element of free speech in the United States. It literally was fought with the blood, sweat, and tears of 2 Live Crew to be able to say whatever you want on a rap album. And you still cannot talk about certain things. And now we've been colonized. And I'm just going to say it. I learned earlier this month that Charlemagne the God is getting sued for rape. And the first thing I said was, that's why there is a LGBT rainbow flag visible in every Breakfast Club interview I have ever seen. He's a star of that show. Okay. And that flag is always visible. That's why Charlemagne the God is the guy who is pushing the trans stuff onto rappers and people like that. Why he was so pushing Kamala Harris. Because he is one of these people who's been jammed up. We are a society that runs on blackmail and coercion. I don't believe anybody genuinely likes a lot of this shit. Like a lot of the young guys, and some older ones, but I heard this a lot when I was a kid too. They try to say like, you not playing Eminem around the hoes, are you? It's like the hoes don't dictate what I like. Like that's a weird thought process to have. Is that your music taste should be dictated by the hoes. That doesn't work. So if your music taste can be dictated by the hoes, then I guess your political opinion should be dictated by the hoes too, right? You don't want to turn the hoes off. You want sexual access, don't you? So that means you should stand up and pretend to like Nicki Minaj. Or brainwash yourself into actually liking it. And some people will do that. Or at the very least, when somebody else is putting it over, talking about how great it is, you're going to shut up and not say anything. But if they want you to actually endorse it, You have to realize that there's some skeletons in the closet. And Joe Budden is another one. And I like Joe Budden. I think his podcast is as honest as he could be, given the circumstances that he's been accused of beating several women. And he has yet to be canceled for it. It's one of those open secrets that, you know, Joe Budden supposedly has been beat up a couple of his girlfriends, like Esther Baxter and a couple of other ones. You never know when they decide to start taking that stuff seriously and decide they want to pull the plug on you. So you better play ball. All right. So I'm looking at it from the perspective of the gatekeepers still exist. They're still there. But there is a pistol pushed right in the small of their back that's saying you cannot tell the truth about Ice Spice. Because that would be the first fucking thing you would do. If you go back 20 some odd years, nobody would have had a problem telling you that Mike Jones is one of the worst rappers of all time. There would be people on the radio like, I don't understand why people like this stuff. This guy is terrible. They're like, I love the beat. The hook is great, but this guy cannot rhyme at all. He sucks. I don't like his voice. People were honest. They still played it, but at least they were honest. To a degree. Because people still play Silk the Shocker and not enough people dissed him. But today, you get no pushback. Almost none. Almost no pushback on how terrible some of this stuff is. Or how weird a lot of these rappers are. They'll sit down and talk about how dumb and, you know, porn-brained Kanye West is and all that. But talk about these girls? No, they're not going to do that. Not going to do that at all. You know, so it's very unfortunate. AJ3 says Lil Wayne inspired these guys like Future and Thug and others when it comes to Lane, even though it started in Houston, but Wayne popularized it and made it mainstream. That is true. He started doing the double cups in every music video. And that's why his hair's thinning and falling out. And he's starting to look like an old frog, despite the fact that he's not even 45. He's probably like 44 or something. 43 maybe. Wayne is not that old, but he looks much older than he really is. He looks like he's deteriorating. And a lot of that's because of the drug usage. Beep says, I couldn't get into the new wave of skateboarding, drug addict mumble rappers. We are seeing Lil Wayne's trajectory from Cash Money to whatever. Yeah. Lil Wayne started being a stream of consciousness rapper too, so he kind of lost track with oh yes, I forgot. Forget that. Another great album this year was Pete Rock and Common's The Auditorium. That was a phenomenal record. That really was. And I listened to that more than once. That's probably my album of the year. Rap album of the year. I think maybe still Anderson .Paak and Knowledge would be, and I'm still not sure if that came out this year or last year. But Common and Pete Rock, that album was tremendous. Like legitimately tremendous. And I just thought of it. That's why I thought blocked. But that album was tremendous too. AJ3 says hip hop and rap are two different subjects. Hip hop is about originality and respecting your craft and culture. Rap is about business. Make a hit, sales, win awards, and be a star. Rap is a part of the hip hop culture. I will say that. I think that we should, because rap ain't shit but MCing. And producing should be more akin to DJing. Of course, it's not. Beat making is kind of DJing. And there's a difference between a beat maker and a producer. So I will say rap consists of two elements of hip hop culture, MCing and DJing. Beep says Chameleonaire is a venture capitalist now, apparently. Yes, he is. AJ3 says the City Girls open the door for these raunchy women rappers, and they say women owning their sexuality. Well, it's not the first time we've had quote unquote women owning their sexuality. It was vulgar and tacky when Lil Kim did it. It was vulgar and tacky when Trina did it. Vulgar and tacky when Nicki Minaj did it. It's vulgar and tacky now. WWE TNA full Says these goofy simp and beta gatekeepers have been doing a disservice to men in the culture for years. Absolutely. Absolutely. Our young boys are going to grow up thinking that these are what women are supposed to be. You know, it's there is no, and it wouldn't be so bad if there was somebody on the other side. Like when you look at rap music, you look at hip hop always, there was always your more ignorant rappers, but you still had good visibility for Common. You still had good visibility for Nas. They weren't completely ignorant. You still had the roots. You still had something with some meat on it that you would see on like Rap City, that you would see on 106 and Park, that would still be visible in the culture. Your Lupe Fiascos and guys like this. But there is no counter to the Nicki Minaj, Doja Cat, Cardi B. There is no counter. There is no other side. There is nobody else, no female rapper who could rap legitimately and is not talking about the same subjects. There is not one. Not one. At least there was some level of counteracting for Jay-Z. If you find what Jay-Z did to be offensive to women, which a lot of people did because they were feminists, they existed even back then, they could always find safe haven in Common, The Roots, Nas, or Talib Kweli, and stuff like this. If you could always go back and listen to like The Far Side or A Tribe Called Quest or something like that. There's none of that stuff today. It's all bitch, 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 pussy, 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 X, Y. It's nonsense. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And there's no counteract for it. There's nobody offering up a different vision for young women or young men. And it's unfortunate. And you don't see any of these other women take a chance and stop doing that stuff. Like, even among the women, Eve was different from Little Kim. When Little Kim was doing photo shoots with her legs open, Eve never did anything like that. Eve kind of, for a little bit, did, some pop star stuff with Gwen Stefani, and she had chops. She could rhyme with DMX and Jadakiss and all these guys. So she was a counter to like the Little Kims. Foxy Brown was a counter to Little Kim. She was kind of a counter to Trina. You had Shauna, to a degree. She never became like a big star or anything like that, but she could be a sort of counter to what you would see with Trina. But then the Nicki Minaj shit happened, and there was no female rapper that was out that was doing straight rap from a female perspective, a mature female perspective. There wasn't any. And it's been that way since. And you're doing your young ladies a disservice. A real disservice. There is no balance. It sucks now. And it's very unfortunate, but it is what it is. Okay, so let's talk about these declining sales. So I just see in an article, there's one in Newsweek. It's from June 1st. It says hip hop is declining in popularity. I'm going to skip into the middle paragraph here. It says, in fact, media outlets were flooded with think pieces about the decline of hip hop after it experienced a fall in its market share and a failure to dominate music charts for the first time in a long while. Hip hop was still the most listened to genre of music in 2023. It had a 26.8% share of the U.S. music market, down from its 2020 peak of 28.2% in 2020. According to research by Luminate, and its growth has slowed down drastically since its surge in the 2010s. But do these numbers mean hip hop's popularity is declining, or are they telling a different story? Okay. So they start talking about music being diluted. And Zachary Diaz says, quote, that music gentrification is the problem. Music gentrification. The market share of hip hop has become so massive that it's sort of the zenith, and it's because it's everywhere. It's hard to even tell what is hip hop and what isn't, he said. Well, we've had that problem for a long time, Zachary. We had this problem in 1998 when you would hear R. Kelly on a record and not know whether it's going to be an R&B song or rap song. You know, when what these bitches want from a nigga, and you had Cisco singing all over it. Is this an R&B song or is this a rap song? You know, we've already been through this, my guy, and it's only gotten worse since then. Now it's a future album is a blend of both. So it's not like it's wrong, but this is not a new problem. He says it's going to sound cheesy, but because hip hop has been so appropriated and exploited, it's like hip hop is everywhere, but at the same time, it's nowhere. Huh. It's nowhere and everywhere at the same time. How about that? Treva Lindsay, Treva, probably a black woman, says that a tremendous possibility and dynamism in all hip hop culture, which includes graffiti, breakdance, and DJing, it might be a victim of its own success. He said, I think the mainstream rap industry has been grasping for creative breath for quite some time. I think the radical potential of hip hop remains in its lower frequencies. What we consume most often, though, is where I am most critical and underwhelmed. Now, I will say this, and it probably should be said. The music record companies, let's say, they have gone almost completely full born on their 360 contracts. And it's not a positive, let's say. As much as the gatekeepers has let us down in terms of the radio stations, which are almost all gone at this point, the podcasters, the YouTubers, everybody who's in this space, a big problem is the record companies, because the record companies, who are supposed to be the original gatekeepers, they're supposed to be the ones out finding the talent and paying the talent to make good art. They're now trying to put these artists on, I don't want to say a slave deal, but it's a deal where they make money off of everything you do. And most people are not down with that. You know, they're not interested in that. And being in a perpetual debt cycle, which the music industry is, it's a perpetual debt cycle. Every check that you get from that's not a royalty check, it just goes down to pay down a debt that you owe to the company for creating the album in the first place. Nobody wants to do that, especially now as artists become smarter and people can learn how to produce records off YouTube. Why would they want to do that? You know? So it's weird. So it says Lindsay also pointed to a litany of bad actors in hip hop who have spoiled its image and authenticity. She says for some, the most recent rap battle, that would be Kendrick and Drake, and the deployment of a very serious allegation of intimate partner violence and sexually predatory behavior as ammunition signal a deeply entrenched and intractable misogyny that has plagued rap music for decades. Nobody is not listening to rap because of misogyny. This is why, they need to get real people to talk to Newsweek. And this is why we need legitimate voices. Nobody has ever stopped listening to a rap album or a rap song because of misogyny since 1992. This is not a real subject. All right? It's not real. In fact, today's rap music might be the least misogynistic rap music of all time. What are you talking about, woman? She says, for other folks, the hyper-commercialization and apolitical tenor of mainstream rap music are sources of ire and disappointment. I think some people may be welcoming its decline in the commercial sphere as they await innovation from the marginalized Black and brown communities that pioneered hip hop over 50 years ago. Again, what is she talking about? The hyper commercialization, apolitical tenor. What are you talking about? Oh, we need to go back to the days of my president's black, Lambo blue. Shut your ass up. We await innovation from marginalized Black and brown communities. What are you talking about? Kendrick Lamar is from Compton. There ain't nothing middle class about Compton. You know, oh my Lord. Oh my God. Oh my God. These people they're degenerate, man. Like she's a Marxist, okay? So she's saying like what people loved about hip hop was, the less commercialization element of it, which, that can be taken or given, but the political tenor of it. No, people liked Fight the Power when it came out, but they also was like, fuck the police. Okay, that was fine. But also, Two Live Crew was a thing, and that really didn't have any political element to it at all. What was the political element of Gin and Juice? The issue here is the lack of talent. You can't find talented artists to sign up for this slave contract, this 360 deal. And then the people who do sign up for it are people with no fucking talent, who then you have your corrupted media spaces promote them. This doesn't sound like a person who's actually listened to a rap album, though, I can tell you that. And then they start talking about how it's not all doom and gloom because Nicki Minaj has one of the highest grossing hip hop tours of all time. What about inflation? And then that's part of the problem. Nicki Minaj fucking sucks. And people can't say she just can't say she sucks. Saying that it's a new Black music culture should emerge. The cycle of Black musical innovation is one that suggests we are perhaps on the precipice of something new. No, what you're doing is burning the bush that you're standing on. You're not making nothing new. There's nothing new in rap. I can't believe they talk to this person. Why would they talk to that person? It's Newsweek. They don't know shit about rap. So, Double XL magazine, September 11th. So it was more recent. It says that hip hop's impact is undeniable. In 2018, Nielsen SoundScan's year-end music industry report confirmed hip hop was the most popular genre in the U.S. According to Statista's most recent numbers, hip hop was the most streamed genre of music in the U.S. in 2021. Yet, as recent numbers show, rap artists aren't selling like they used to, even the A-listers. So it says Eminem's album, The Death of Slim Shady, The Coup de Grace, debuted at number 1 on the Billboard chart in July. However, 281,000 units sold for that project is a far cry from his record-breaking The Marshall Mathers LP, which sold 1.7 million copies its first week in 2000. Pause right here. They don't sell CDs anymore. The Marshall Mathers LP, you can get a cassette tape of that album. You cannot get a cassette tape of The Death of Slim Shady. Okay. It's hard to count units moved when you're no longer actually moving physical units. Are these people stupid? Is this going to be mentioned? Because I don't see it in here. No, I don't see the change in technology. That would be the first fucking thing I'd have thought of. Oh, it's only moved 281,000. Oh, maybe because very few people buy CDs. People just waited for it to drop on YouTube or pop up on Spotify and they listen to it then. Oh, that speaks for itself at that point. That's why the record companies want the 360 deals. They don't move CDs anymore. These people are stupid, man. They actually quote that Zachary Diaz person again. I'm glad they didn't vote that. They didn't quote that Trevor Lindsay, because that sounded like that was a bad one. So that was pretty much all that took place in this one. This one was all about that really bad information about and Double XL should do better. You know, goddamn well they don't sell tapes no more, it's CDs and tapes. So that's why. It's pretty obvious to me. Stone Mexican guy says rap has just been around for too long. It's like what happened with metal and rock and alt rock. It's all temporary. Yeah, I mean, part of it is because music is kind of a young people's revolution. And as young people come in, they take the music genre in a different direction. And hip hop has gone in the direction of female empowerment, which is the rump shakers. And they've hollowed it out, to be quite honest. I don't know what can fill the void, you know, but it really has done a really bad deal. Beep says, Oy vey, never should have gave Master P an independent deal. Quick, make the music fruity and female. Right, somebody's got to do something to control these Negroes, man. You can't have them thinking for themselves and putting out their own material like they did in the blog era. The blog era was actually good because you could, if you didn't want to hear the trash that was out, you could always go to the blogs and find something that you liked. That's how I found like Big Crit, you know. That's how I found J. Cole. How I found Kendrick Lamar and Ab Soul and Schoolboy Q and Nipsey Hussle and all these guys popped up during the era of hot new hip hop and live mixtapes and Dat Piff, and all of those guys are nearing 40 now. And what about the youth? It's not the same. Even like a Joey Badass, who I really enjoy. I really enjoyed Joey Badass projects up to his first album. I don't think I listened to his second one. So they think it's the apolitical tenor of hyper commercialization and the apolitical tenor. No, it's because people don't care about this stuff. They don't care about this stuff because none of it sticks to their ribs. There's stuff for the clubs, but the club is dying. People don't go to clubs anymore because it's all bottle service, not people actually going on a dance floor. I was told about that clubs are starting to go the way of the mall. And that's really when hip hop is going to suffer, because then it's strictly going to be strip clubs. You know, that ought to be an interesting change, because it used to be, at least if it was something you could dance to, you would tolerate it. But now nobody dances anymore. They go and get a section and they get bottle service. And it's expensive to do that. Complex says that hip hop is back. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, this is from April. Let's see if there's one that is recent. This is from HHS Blueprint. It's from November, but I don't trust that site. I don't know what that site is. Strike Magazine says rap isn't dying, mainstream music is. What's Strike Magazine? I don't think I've ever heard of it. I'm trying to look for something that might be authoritative on the rap element. Also, we need a new brand of blog, you know? Like what happened to like Source and Double XL, and I know that they don't do physical magazines anymore. But goddamn, they could at least be on the forefront when it comes to hip hop journalism. But it seems like they're not even on the forefront of hip hop journalism anymore. So it's unfortunate. It's all fake and gay. It's all fake and gay. So there it is. Pete Rock and Common's album, The Auditorium. I highly suggest it. I highly suggest that album. In fact, I'm going to just suggest a couple of tracks from that album because it was so goddamn good, and I forgot to do a review of it. It's The Auditorium Volume 1, Common and Pete Rock. Dreamin' is amazing. Fortunate, So Many People, Wise Up, All Kind of Ideas, When the Sun Shines Again. Oh, what an amazing record, man. This was really good. I strongly suggest people go listen to this. Strongly suggest, especially if you care about rap music. This is good. Everything is indeed streamed now, which, these people should have known when they put that in that stupid article. Trans women rappers next. Oh, it's inevitable. I'm pretty sure there's some right now. They just won't tell you. And then there's going to be rappers and gatekeepers telling you, it's okay. You should listen to this. It's good. There's like a drag queen rapper in New Orleans stuff, like a super popular. I forget what the name of the person is, but I've heard about it a long time ago. Like it's like the RuPaul of bounce in New Orleans. I'm like, ew. AJ3 says newspapers are the only physical media left. Well, there's still comic books and manga, but when it comes to good journalism, no. It's all interns sitting behind a computer. What's the top 5 Goku surprises in Dragon Ball Dynamite? Like, oh, doing stupid lists, putting out bad information, just coughing up horse shit. It's all bad. AJ3 says, back then we didn't have hip hop fashion designers anymore. Back we had Rockaware, Sean John, Fat Farm, Fubo, they're all gone. I have a deep, deep problem with the amount of rappers who want to be in the fashion industry. And I think that's part of why we have been colonized so. Because what is the fashion industry? Nothing but sissies and women. So they're not going to let you in if you are too masculine. That's why I'm kind of raising my eyebrow at Pusha T, because he wants to be in the fashion industry so bad. And so does Kendrick Lamar. They wanted to get that fashion money so bad. And so did Kanye for a long time. Kanye wanted it so bad. Want to make his own shoes and make his own clothes and be on the runway and be seen with these people who will end up all being pedophiles and other kinds of weirdos. But with that, you have to accept their lifestyle, their debauchery. All the weird Balenciaga stuff that they were doing. I mean, again, coercion and blackmail. It is what it is, man. That shit's gross. And it was weird. Then you started seeing a lot of, and Tupac was one of the first ones to do it. He was a male rapper who was into fashion. There was also stories of Tupac getting his booty touched in jail, but we're not gonna go down that road. Beef says, do the kids have to call an Uber now if they want to sell out the back of the trunk again? Sell out the back of the Uber. No, they probably just put it on SoundCloud, and then they say some wild shit on social media so they can post it. Oh, listen to my new song. Get out of here, you bum. Scum Mexican guy says people don't like to buy music or anything anymore. They just want to download and stream it. They complain about it sucking. Yeah. That's a really good statements, the fall of physical media, there is a correlation that you don't have to buy and own anything anymore. So everything is disposable. So since you don't have to buy it and own it, the cost is less. You don't pay $20 for a record anymore. So artists, do they put full effort into these albums anymore? Probably not. That's why when I saw somebody say that this Kendrick Lamar thing is not even an album, it's a mixtape, I'm like, bro, I can't even tell the difference. Because it's not like you're gonna go to FYE or Tower Records or something and find this. So so we don't know what it is. We don't know if it's a mixtape. We don't know if it's an album. Does it matter? No. It's just new Kendrick Lamar and everybody's listening to it. AJ3 says Big Frida is his name from New Orleans. Oh God. Yikes. Boondocks explained that fashion is really, really gay. It's super gay. I don't think there's any of those people who are heterosexual. And in order to get that money and to get access, you have to accept certain things. And look, I'm not saying that everybody needs to be a homophobe. I'm just saying that there's certain truths that you cannot tell. You are compromised when you want to get in certain rooms. When you want to be popular in a certain space, there needs to be compromises made. And when you make those compromises, you are no longer a trusted name in the media space. You can still have a space. People still listen to Joe Budden podcast. I'm not one of them. I listen to some of the clips, but I am fully understanding that there's a level of compromise when it comes to the Breakfast Club and Joe Budden and Ebro and everybody who talks about rap because they don't speak honestly because they want access. If you tell the truth and say Megan Thee Stallion sucks at rapping, she's not very good at it, and she may have even lied about getting shot because she certainly lied about having sex with that dude and that she's a lying bitch and all this kind of stuff, she won't come on your show anymore. And her record company might block other people from coming on that show. So you have to sit there and bite your tongue and bite your lip and pretend that all this stuff didn't happen. Beep says, true, music production is commoditized now, but thanks to all his brain rotting, nobody got anything to say anyways. That's a really good point. Most people used to write songs and write lyrics to express themselves. Now they just go on Facebook and Twitter and tweet out their thoughts. And they may make more money doing that because, you can get monetized on Twitter. You might get people doing something on YouTube rather than writing down their own thoughts and coming up with their own music. And then the people who do try to make their own beats and all this kind of stuff, there's 100 million other people who are trying to make their own beats. And that's what it is. It's lazy. It's weak. These people are corrupted. That's why you can't trust them. That was the thing about, the Source and Double XL and those magazines. They were tough. They were notoriously tough on people. And they were biased, but they were tough. It was hard to get 4 or 5-star mics out of the Source. It was hard to get an XL out of Double XL magazine. And it meant something when you did get it. Now it doesn't mean shit if somebody talks about how hot you are. It doesn't mean a damn thing because they're probably corrupted. Beep says maybe when we value having a soul more than being flashy, we'll get good music again. I think all the other kinds of outlets people have now take away from some of the music stuff. Like now people can just talk about their trauma in interviews and not really put it in music, And this is the positive thing about Kendrick Lamar is that he doesn't do a lot of interviews. So how he's feeling and the stuff that he goes through kind of goes into the music. Meanwhile, a lot of other people, they just emote over the internet. They're not sitting back thinking about how to write a song or how to put together something to convey how they feel. They can just put out something for the club as it exists right now. So really, so so Mexican time. Miss when we used to mock people talking about their trauma. Yeah, it used to be a time where it was cool to be introspective to a degree, to talk about some of the stuff that you went through, but you couldn't harp on it. Like DMX can make slipping, but he couldn't make an album of slipping without people thinking that something was wrong with this fucking guy. Like you need a therapist, and that's what happened with like Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. It's like, okay, a song here and there of this kind of thing is fine, but you had an entire album. Like, brother, go to get you a therapist. you probably you need serious help. I don't want an entire album of this shit. A song here and there is fine. So, but again, we're living in different culture. It's a different time, and we have fewer and fewer. We have more outlets than ever, and fewer honest people willing to say that something sucks. Now that the record labels will sign anybody who will sign a 360 contract, they don't even care anymore, because they're like, as long as we get paid, they don't give a shit. They don't give a damn if you sing, rap. If you don't sing, you don't rap. If you use the robotic voice thing, they don't care. None of it matters. They don't care whether you really have talent or not. Stone Mexican guy says, make an album called Mental Health Crisis to appeal to all the BPD white women. General Anxiety Disorder, a GAD album. And it's all just schizo Trump posting. Beep says D to the M to the X. Last I heard, y'all niggas was having sex with the same sex. I just listened to that video the other day. It's amazing because people still love DMX. He was super homophobic, and he was one of the last ones that people will accept that shit from. Like, nobody else was allowed to get away with some of the stuff DMX had got away with. He got away with a lot, because he's like the Mike Tyson of rap, so he got away with a lot. But these new kids ain't getting away with shit. They ain't getting away with nothing. They say something about these homos, it's over with. They gotta either that or they're gonna get hit with one of these sexual harassment, cases, or something stupid like that. They're gonna say you raped somebody, something crazy like that, and it's gonna be over for you. WG Phil says Black Culture Day is brain rot. Trying to be gangster yet allow the rainbow, whites, and females to corrupt the space. That's because part of it is it's business. So in their personal lives, they may not, rock with all that stuff. But they may say, look, do you want the money or not? You want to go back to the hood and sell dope, or you want this money? Well, I would like the money, sir. Well, you're going to be surrounded by homos. You're going to be offered an opportunity to go to Diddy parties. You can politely say no, but you can't say anything about it either. And most people will take that deal. You can buy my silence. You might not be able to buy my butthole, but you can buy my silence. I won't talk about anybody else's butthole either. So, but there was a time where if they'd have known in the 90s that Diddy was doing the kind of stuff that he was doing, it would have come out. People would have talked about it, and it'd have been a big deal. But in modern day, he could get away with it because nobody wanted to talk about it. And all these alternative lifestyles and all this shit, it's all accepted until randomly it's not. And it's randomly not accepted because we allow pretty much everything until we decide that it's not fun anymore. Nobody cares that Diddy is gay, and nobody cares that Diddy is throwing these sick, nasty parties. They only care that it might be minors there. There was a time when people really didn't care about that. You know, there is something else underneath that is causing the problem, and we'll find out what that is eventually. All right, it's almost been 2 hours. We're gonna wrap this thing up. I appreciate everybody for stopping by, man. In terms of albums, I highly suggest you guys go listen to Common and Pete Rock, the Auditorium Volume 1. You go listen to No Worries. That would be Anderson .Paak and Knowledge with an X, so NXLEDGE. Those are some of the best music I ever heard this year. The Kendrick Lamar album is very good. It's tremendous. And I will continue to play it. We will talk about next week Dragon Ball Diamond. We'll talk about episode 7 and 8. Almost nothing happened in 7 because almost nothing happens in Dragon Ball Diamond anyway. And I will see you guys live on Thursday, which I think will be Thanksgiving. I should still do a Thanksgiving stream. Maybe we'll do a watch along as we watch an event. That way we won't have to put forth too much effort. I'm pretty sure all the shows are going to be taped. So it's going to be a really relaxed week. Thank you guys for your time. Talk to you guys later. Peace out.